youth is just a reflection of the elders. Because one may call them juvenile and delinquents and that kind of a thing, and they're trying to find back themselves, and they're taking different expressions. And once a man have an awareness of self, he will then start having an appreciation of self. We have a Trinidad and Tobago that is based on equal rights and opportunity for all. One must have sincere heart for youths, for community, for nation. It's sincere, and you have no other agenda. It is very difficult to evaluate another human being happiness. You would see people wearing smiles, and that smile is not often a reflection of their level of happiness. It's just a smile.
Hello again, welcome to Ping Pong Chats. It's Carnival season here in Trinidad and Tobago, and we have today with us Akinola Sennon. You know, this is about sustainable development. This is about talking with inspiring people, the leaders of Trinidad and Tobago that are shaping the future of this country. And I'm so happy to have you, Akinola, today. You are one of the persons that have changed the way I see Trinidad and Tobago, the way work is being done in the communities, and I think you changed the life of many people. So thanks, Akinola, for your time.
Happy to be here, and it's always a pleasure to discuss with you.
You are a musician, you are an artist, you are a religious leader, you are a community champion. How the Panyard is helping the community to come together, especially youth that otherwise would go in different directions, different paths.
Well, the steel band has that I would say resume as a social architect in Trinidad and Tobago from the beginning. Because as I said, these young men were once steel gangs. And they were gangs that came together. And one of the activities that they started engaging in is steel pan. Because something in their DNA, it was calling them. It was calling them something in their DNA. Because one may call them juvenile and delinquents and that kind of a thing. But for me, they're just a young, youthful auxiliaries, youths, and they're trying to find back themselves, and they're taking different expressions, and they're taking different expressions, and it cannot be conformed, it cannot be boxed in, it cannot be defined by anybody. So somebody looking at it from the outside may call them delinquents and all of that kind of thing. But for me, I never really see it as that. But these men, they went from being that into professional musicians, into scientists, into inventors, going down into the history book as some of the world's inventors. So the steel pan always they upcycled human beings from people who are facing certain social and economic conditions, and even I would say running on the edge of the law here and there, to becoming contributors towards humanity. And I think the steel band, we just continued in that spirit of our ancestors started it. So all steel bands end up being an institution for social reformation throughout Trinidad and Tobago and throughout the world.
What's going on with our youth? Why it's easier for many of them sometimes to choose the easy path, which is not the right path? The youth
is just a reflection of the elders. The youth is breaking the laws because they see their fellow mentors doing the same thing. The people who are supposed to lead them, they do the same thing every day. And they just reflect that. Subliminally, they don't even think about it. It becomes okay to do it. It becomes okay to do it. The youth that's reflecting what they see in the wider society on a day-to-day basis. People have no respect for the environment. They treat the environment anyhow. People have no respect for self. They have respect for community. They have respect for elders. They no longer sit and reason out a dispute. A dispute is settled in blood at an elder level. The youth day-to-day wake up and hear some uncle, the father, and they quarreling and talking about killing one another. And he's poisoned with that energy. When he has a dispute, what are you going to do? You going to reason with somebody? After you have taught him over and over and over that the only way that a dispute can be settled is in blood, elder, you have taught him that over and over. When you have a dispute, you go and talk to somebody, you want to kill as well. So the youth is just being a display, and they're just mirroring what they see with their leaders, basically.
How do you deal with that, Akinola? Because you have first-hand experience with people coming to you desperate, lost, asking for what? What do they ask for, and how do you respond to that when in your community? Because you are a reference, you are a role model in many ways, Akinola.
Well, I try to point them towards sensible mentorship, firstly.
Okay.
Try to steer them away from probably the current mentorship that they see as mentorship and point them into more sustainable, logical mentorship. That is because mentorship is everything, you know. And definitely as I start going down that path, I come back to that again, always, you know, trying to do my best to instill a sense of God-fearingness in them. And I can't change anyone, can advise, but a lot of times with advice and you know, advising and you know, and kind of steering the process,
or even listening, just being there sometimes. No?
It works. It may not work all the time. I'll be lying if I say it works all the time. You know, we don't get through to everybody. Some slip through the crack, but for most of it, it works. And then the culture is a thing too. You know, getting them into the cultural aspect. You see, culture is self. Culture is self. And what culture does, it gives you an awareness of self. And once a man have an awareness of self, he will then start having an appreciation of self. And once you have an appreciation of self, you'll also have an appreciation of environment. And once you have an appreciation of environment, you'll also start having an appreciation for the inhabitants of the environment.
What do you think is the added value that UNDP can bring? Why do you think it's good to have these sort of conversations with the UN team?
I think for sure what UNDP could bring to our work is assisting with building really and truly that structural integrity and framework to ensure that what we do, you know, it fosters continuity. Because with minus proper structural integrity and proper framework, it can just be a brief moment in time.
One of the things that, again, as a guest in the country that calls my attention is that Carnival is this moment of the year where the country comes together. When different groups come together, with different sizes, with everybody is the same on the road.
Yeah, there's definitely a seamless coming together of different groups, you know, and a removal of borders that happens in a micro way, in the panyards on a night-to-night basis in each of the community, in a micro way at the mass camps and at the Calypso tents, but also in a more mega way on the more main festival days and Panorama Day and I guess Carnival Monday and Tuesday and that kind of a thing.
How far today's Carnival is from the origins of Carnival, the cultural heritage, what's happening in Port of Spain is the same as what's happening in other parts of the country?
I think not just Carnival, but I think when something experiences a certain level of commercialization, sometimes the gravity of it is reduced. You know, it was men really displaying a high level of art that represents, you know, our heritage, that represents our folklore. You know, the mass is supposed to be that. It's supposed to be a representation of the political and social climate. Perchance that it would kindle something in the citizenry. Yeah. You know, mass supposed to be that. And I think with the high level of commercialization, You know, and I think also with and I think what they used as well to increase the commercialization is to really have it highly sexualized. So with going for a high level of commercialization and using and selling sexualization to commercialize it, I think from a perspective of mass, they have really moved away from, you know, where that used to be.
Last year, UNDP, we partnered with the Lost Tribe on the Carnival we want. And we did a survey. We talked to people about sexuality, about environmental, about safety. What's the Carnival we want? And there were very interesting outcomes from that. Where how Carnival can be more environmentally friendly, more culturally sensitive to equality, for instance, and be more inclusive. And I'm glad that, for instance, this year, the Lost Tribe has launched a sustainable initiative. So that element of how Carnival can be even better and inclusive, it's very important.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the major aspects of the Carnival, apart from the mass death night, will be steel pan. And the origination of steel pan really was the yearning for a man to return to himself. This man was taken out of Africa, it's no secret. He was enslaved. It was the greatest atrocity ever seen in the entire world. There's nothing worse that ever happened to anyone in the entire world than what those people endure, my ancestors. And now with that situation being alleviated and going into that emancipation period, man now had that yearning to return to himself, because one of the effects of slavery is you're cultureless. And you are property of others, and you are what they tell you what you are. So you stop being a king and a queen, and you're just a slave on a plantation serving an agenda. So now with that situation being alleviated, man now have that yearning to return to himself, because he has engaged 400 years of torture and trauma. And with that yearning to return to yourself, he now have a yearning to return to his culture. That culture that lies within his DNA. So even though that particular man here now was not alive 400 years ago, it still existed in his DNA. And because it has existed in his DNA, he knows about the drum. So the first thing he wants to go towards is a drum. Not that have the freedom to, he gone towards a drum.
For our international audience, people that are watching this outside of Trinidad, can you explain us the origins of steel pan?
Well, yes. As I said, the steel pan started with the abolishment of slavery.
Okay.
And so when slavery was abolished, and the slaves the enslaved, can now regain their culture, they went for the drums. And they started to play the drums to celebrate.
But
the drums was taken away, because the drums caused a fear, etc., etc. And then they went to another instrument, which was called tambu bamboo. That and all was taken away and banned for various reasons. And then they went to the steel. You know, but steel in the form of, you know, things that are not an actual instrument, but metal cans and that kind of a thing. And the genius in them, the scientists in them, keep exploring the process of metallic science, and it started forming the instrument. An instrument that is the science of it is way beyond.
You are going, Akinola, towards one of the points I find more interesting. People don't know, but one of my biggest interests is about happiness, and my free time I study about happiness. Very specific question, Akinola. Who is the happiest person you know, and why?
Yeah, the happiest person that I know is my own self. And I would say so because it is very difficult to evaluate another human being's happiness. You would see people wearing smiles, and that smile is not often a reflection of their level of happiness. It's just a smile. But I receive this daily happiness and joy from what I do. I really do. I tell people all the time, if God is to take me off the face of the earth, and he say go in and send me back into earth, and you could select whatever you want to be. You could be a king in the world. I say, I want to come back as Akinola Sennon, and I want to come back and do the same exact thing because I love to do that.
Yeah, man.
And that makes me happy. So I don't think there's somebody more happy than me.
That's an awesome answer because you are grateful as well, and gratefulness and mindfulness is key.
After going through Trinidad and Tobago as a space, and I know holding the office that you hold, when you go through a space, you would experience this space from a social climate. Are there any other states that, somewhat, resemble Trinidad and Tobago? And, I have an interest in knowing, like, if because of that, how the society itself is. Does it have a similar cultural effect as because of this? Or is the socioeconomics of that society? How do people treat the environment?
I've lived in 7 or 8 countries, and Trinidad and Tobago is different in many, many, many ways. And the energy of the people on Trinidad and Tobago is unmatched in many ways. But also there are many commonalities. And we are seeing in the world, UNDP, we had a sound study published last year that shows that polarization is increasing in a dramatic level. This idea of you versus me, the gap is bigger and bigger and bigger. And not only that difference is turning into confrontation and violence, which is the problem because conflict is innate, is normal in any society. But when that conflict turns into violence, that's what the policy is. And what I'm seeing in Trinidad and Tobago is this increasing polarization, which mirrors what's happening in many other countries. We just need to look at the North and Europe or anybody else. However, the potential in this country is huge. That's what I see. And I explained that.
You see potential.
I see huge potential. Geographical potential, the beauty of this country is amazing. The most important asset of a country is the people. And I'm telling you Trinidadians, the sky's the limit working with you. We work with the government, and the current government is open for conversation. And for me as UN, this is critical because the moment we can have a dialogue,
yes.
we can agree or disagree, but there is a space for building together.
Definitely.
And that's huge. And the last thing, working in the communities is so rich. We can connect in ways that in other countries is not easy. So the potential of Trinidad and Tobago is huge. But imagine, as a foreigner, it's easy to say, right? Imagine Trinidad and Tobago without crime. And some of the things you are doing in Siparia with Deltons are phenomenal. How can we learn from that experience and expand that beyond Siparia?
Well, at the very foundation, I don't think this one can be learned, but it does need to be applied. There must be sincerity of heart. There must be sincerity of heart. Anytime the intention for this work is anything else but sincerity of heart, I don't know what's going to happen. One must have sincere heart for youths, for community, for nation. It's sincere, and you have no other agenda. And I think once that stands at the epicenter and the foundation of it, is now, I would say, putting the correct structure into place. But the structure now must be indigenous. A lot of times, people impose structures. And it's something strange and foreign, and it will never breed a particular excellence in self. Because it's not indigenous to the man. It's something that is indigenous to somebody else, and it may create excellence with someone else. So the structures must be indigenous. It must be coming out of the fabric of the thing.
But they need support.
It needs networking.
Champions.
It needs academics in the process as well, to put certain frameworks to it and put definitions to it, not changing it to anything. It needs funding. It need the assistance of policymakers to ensure that it doesn't run into all these red tapes all the time,
I often ask this question: if you would have a magic wand and you could change one thing in Trinidad and Tobago, one thing only, what would that be?
Equal rights and opportunity. That we have a Trinidad and Tobago that is based on equal rights and opportunity for all. And opportunity, you know, it doesn't come with a geographical location. An opportunity doesn't come with a skin type or a hair texture. An opportunity doesn't come with a particular surname or a particular I don't know, friend list. But opportunity is basically for the citizenry. And once one put in the work, you would receive the opportunity. Yeah, that I think that would be one of my foremost desires. But also second to that, this one should have been first. This one should really be first. We need to go back to Trinidad and Tobago where there's a godliness now as the epicenter of our actions and thoughts now. Once we acknowledge a particular godliness, there we go. They have a supreme being that is looking over us all the time. I will be held accountable for our actions. We will second guess a lot of things. So we need to have a particular God consciousness in the society, and it starts from the school. Remove religious instructions in the school. And when we remove religious instructions in the school started becoming a disaster. It started to breed gangs in the school. How was the experience for you coming into Trinidad and Tobago and seeing this musical art form transcend just beyond a musical art form into something actually social and playing so much multiple roles? Was it like a wow factor for you? Have you experienced something like that anytime before?
I'm not very good with words, but it's something you cannot explain the experience in a Panjard until you are there. For you, it's relatively easy because you have been raised there. For you, it's normal. But when you see it from outside, it's almost mystical in many ways. Not only because of the sound of the pan, which is very, very special in many ways, but the energy in the Panjard is unmatched. And I like the intergenerational connections that happen. You were talking about mentorship. This idea of finding a space where community can have a conversation that can grow in many ways. That now we are behind our phones most of the time. We don't talk to our neighbors. And the Panjards are this space where these connections can happen, because human beings, we are social animals, Akinola. We need it. Otherwise, we disconnect. We are not ourselves. So you have to come, for those seen from outside, come to Trinidad and Tobago, go to a Panjard and experience the magic that happens. I don't have words, to be very honest.
Yes.
Because it's an experience. It's not a concert. It's a cultural show, but it's an experience. Akinola, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Folks, I hope this was as interesting as it was for us. Akinola is a champion in many ways. He's speaking from the heart, because he's living the reality of Trinidad and Tobago at community level, but also talking to policymakers to learn and to expand the good work he's doing. And from UNDP, we are delighted to be part of these conversations. So colleagues, friends, thank you for connecting. Stay tuned for the next Ping Pong Chat.
My friend.
Thank you, Akinola.